Today on Chesapeake Shores, we talk about all the relationship truths come out, and we have a special guest, Michael Berns, in studio. Don't go anywhere.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, Chessies.
Hello.
Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV. We're here doing the Chesapeake Shores After Show, Season 2, Episode 8. We have a special guest in studio. But before we introduce him, let's introduce ourselves. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini. You can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV. Joining me, I have my co-host, as always.
Yes, Stefan Lovegrove. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Lovegrove. And I'm so excited about this guest that we almost forgot to announce last week. And then at the end, we were like, wait, there's a guest.
We have a guest, you guys. We have executive producer of Chesapeake Shores, Michael Berns himself in studio.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hello. See, everyone's excited for you.
And I was announced. It was great.
Yes, you were. Thank you so much for being here. We're very excited to
It
have
was
you.
my pleasure.
So everyone can follow you on social media.
Yeah, at Michael Berns, B-E-R-N-S, Michael Berns TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the same.
All the fun places, and you're very interactive on Twitter.
I
and
am.
all
Sunday
those
nights
places.
and during the day usually. Sometimes I kind of jump in, jump out.
Yeah, you're great. And we have so many great things to talk about this episode. But real quick thoughts. Stefan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I gotta say the relationships are playing out based on what I wanted and cared about most. So I'm happy about that. I have a lot to comment on. So much happened. I feel like so much happened and so much changed in this episode. And yeah, I thought a lot of truth came out and a lot of complicated.
Right, and I don't want to rename this episode, but I would have said the truth comes out in this one. We got the truth of just basically on everybody. I felt like there was so much progression in this episode on everybody's storylines.
Everybody moved forward in some way, whether or not you like the outcome that it arrived at. I think everybody did move forward, at least personally.
Yes.
Except for Megan. That was my one overall comment, is I felt like there was zero Megan in this episode, and I missed her.
I know. I thought so too. There was only maybe one scene with Barbara. I mean, she's fantastic. Barbara, we love you, as you know. But her scene, she had a pivotal moment with Mick in this episode, a little bit.
Okay, you're right. There was that.
Yeah,
No transformation for her, but she gets a week off after so many weeks of massive Megan moments.
She's so good. She only needs one scene. It's like, I'm done. That's it. Moving on.
And there's a little bit of a tease there with that scene.
That's true.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Michael, so we are now 8 episodes in this season. The season's almost over. What are your thoughts of this season as you watch it? Because you've been a part of it, obviously, but as you watch it progress with everybody else, what are your thoughts of this season so far?
I mean, look, I was involved with it, so I'm loving it. So what's great about it at episode 8 is, and I didn't even realize it at the time while we were writing episode 8 and getting it ready to go, is that how much it sets up the end of the season for everyone. And there's little bits and pieces in episode 7 and 8 that really, well, if you're really clever and you're really good at predictions, you'll actually be able to sort of figure out what happens at the end.
Okay.
My wheels are turning now and are going to be this entire episode based on that comment. Okay.
All right.
I've been predicting a lot of things, and a lot of things have come to fruition in some shape or form.
Wouldn't it be a tragedy if Marisa, the impeccable predictor, gets it wrong?
Stop it. I mean, it could be. It could be very wrong. I mean, I did make a prediction about this episode that I was actually wrong. And
which I'm going to bring up.
Yes,
I've been waiting since last night.
Don't worry, we'll get there. And I'm the kind of person, I will admit when I'm wrong. It's totally fine. It's a show. It's left up to interpretation. But let's get into it. Let's start with Kevin and Sarah. We finally get some truth, and we finally get a kiss in this episode, so which I've been waiting for. But were you expecting the type of storyline that Sarah had with her husband being a Marine and who was also affected by the loss of him, sorry?
Well, I figured there was backstory. And Chris, who's always in our live chat, I don't see him, but people are saying hello to him, so he must be here. Chris brought up last week, is it likely that Sarah has a PTSD story similar to Kevin? We didn't know what the exact angle would be, but I thought that was a likely prediction. And I also thought she was being kind of standoffish for unexplainable reasons. And, you know, like Simon said in this episode, I think everybody has a story, and there just had to be a reason. I mean, it was driving me crazy. I said last week, I was like, man, Kevin is a patient man, because I would be so annoyed.
Yeah,
So
I remember when you talked about when she turned on her, when you tried to fit that kiss, and she kind of did a little turn,
yeah,
and you were
you
so
got the
upset.
cheek and
I was so sad, and I was like, if that was me, I would be like, I would go home and I would tell my roommate this date went horrible, it's over, it clearly is just not going anywhere. So I guess I figured there should be some explanation, and clearly there was.
Okay, Trisha in LifeSet says Kevin and Sarah both need a lot of healing. And I agree with that, because we got some truths from Kevin after the fact, talking to Mick about his situation that he had in Kabul. When we know in season 1 his caravan hit the IED. But first of all, it was an amazing performance by Brendan.
Oh,
Penny.
great.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I mean, Emmy, thank you. And then, but him saying all these stories, like his
To Mick?
experience to Mick, I thought was actually very surprising, and I wasn't expecting that.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought admittedly, I thought there was going to be a moment when Kevin was going to go back to Sarah and then reveal his truth, so they can both have something to bond over and heal and grow with each other in that way, and solidify this potential relationship.
Well, I mean, for our perspective, we wanted Brendan, we wanted Kevin to have a moment with his dad, and he's never really talked about it. And, you know, look, of all the people on the show, he doesn't have a problem with Mick. I mean, he and Kevin have all been always pretty good. And he hasn't really told everything yet, but I think that he has the ability to have a moment with his dad to really sort of talk about something that I missed not seeing the first season.
Right.
And oh, look, you also have the ability to have, you know, Brendan and Treat Williams in a scene together, and Treat is so good. And so, you know, you go, got to be so much fun to write this scene and see what happens.
I'm wondering, because we had Mick talking about losing a friend earlier in the episode, and my understanding was that's what kind of cleared the path for Kevin to have a bonding moment.
Yeah, no, I think, and he's open to it emotionally.
Well, right, but normally I don't feel like Mick is who they would go to. Like, we saw the resistance of Connor. Obviously, Mick cares about him having a job in the firm and whatever. But Mick is not, you know, Kevin's opened up to siblings before. I just feel like they don't necessarily go have those vulnerable moments with Mick. And I thought it was beautiful that, you know, Mick's in a vulnerable place, having lost a friend, and they're able to just connect like that. That was powerful TV.
Yeah, and actually the best part about it, it's my closest college friend. And we had the Sunday Night Expatriate Club. And so I had to call him up and tell him he lives in Maine now. And I said, by the way, I'm killing you this weekend.
Bostonian, are you?
He's a Maine.
He's in Maine now, so New England area. There you go.
So he was excited.
Of
There we
course.
go.
Who wouldn't be?
As to be expected. But I think that whole conversation, what Mick said, was actually like one of the best things that I personally think was said in this episode. You know, you have a responsibility to live not just for ourselves, but for them as well. It's like you have to find the strength for other people when they can't be the strength for themselves. And I thought that was very telling. And we know that Mick is a good father, and he does give great advice when absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Well, and how representative of the O'Briens as a whole for Kevin to say, I guess I kind of hoped it would all just go away. To which I thought, that's what you all do. Like, that's what Bree's been doing with her childhood trauma. Which, you know, to an extent, I feel and Jess,
Yeah,
I mean,
Jess, everybody. Really.
everybody. It's an O'Brien pattern to not want to talk about something and just hope that it goes away. And, you know, for weeks, people have been saying, what about the PTSD? Is Kevin still going to have to deal with this? Is it going to catch up to him? And it did.
Yeah, no, but also, I mean, Kevin is sort of the healer of the family. I mean, he's the one that everyone trusts, and I think there's a part of him emotionally and responsibly wants to do something right for the rest of the family, and sometimes those are the people in a family who don't express what they say.
Right.
And because they're so concerned about, you know, their mom, their dad, their siblings. It's why in the third episode, when we have the little Kevin talking, you know, he's the one who says, you know, what can I do for you?
What can I do that would make,
Right, yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons, and it's what makes him strong, but also what hurts him in the long run. is that he can talk, and he's supposed to be strong Kevin.
Yeah, and I love that because he's the one that's strong for everybody else. But when he's weak and vulnerable in a situation like this particular storyline, I find it very realistic because I feel like you can't really help others until you help yourselves. And he's in a place where he has to heal before he can help everybody else in his family.
Yeah.
This is scandalous. Ariadne said, I don't believe Sarah's story. I don't think it's the real story.
No.
Sometimes people make predictions and I'm like, let's remember that this is Hallmark Channel, not SoapNet.
I think that's very
it's slightly
dark
a stretch, but I
storyline.
like the imagination
Yeah,
and
no,
maybe
it's
you need a
great.
job as a writer.
Right. I think that'd be a very twisted, dark storyline to make up if it wasn't true.
If somebody lies about being a widow, that's
Right.
it.
I was like, that's dark.
Can I refute somebody's prediction?
Sure.
Oh, that's not true.
Okay, good.
We can
Good.
officially come
Michael
out and
says it.
confirm breaking news. Sarah's story is not false.
No.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
But wait, Marissa, what do you
Yes.
think? Do you think that they're truly going to honor this? I can't do it either. Do you think that that's going to last, or do you want to save that for predictions?
That was in my predictions.
Okay, we'll save it.
Because Stefan actually knows my predictions because I told him ahead of time. But
I
we'll
might
get
need to
there.
revise mine,
Okay.
hearing that this episode sets us up for the finale. I got to revise some things.
Uh-oh.
I'm still rooting for this relationship. I'll just say that.
Okay.
I'll just say that. Another relationship I'm rooting for, Bree and Simon. I'm really loving the progression on this one.
My fave.
Okay.
Yes, it's really natural. It's not forced. It's slow, and yet we still want more of it every episode. And we finally get a kiss in this episode.
We
too,
got a
with them.
lot of
Yeah,
kisses.
We got
there's a lot of
lot.
kisses.
A lot. I think Connor was the only sibling that didn't get a kiss in this episode.
I know.
But that's okay. We had everybody.
Well, yeah,
else.
where was Danielle?
Not
Out of the
in
picture.
this episode. Not in this episode. He was busy
Not
working
having
with
a
Uncle
trauma to
Thomas.
uncover,
Well,
unfortunately.
there's a lot of O'Briens we have to deal with.
There are.
Yes.
There are.
What are your thoughts of Simon, bonding with the siblings and David, at the end, but like he really feels like he's organically part of the O'Brien family, like he's meant to be there.
To a point that he accidentally got over involved. Like
Yes.
to bringing up Jess and David in front of Bree or to Bree and creating a thing. I don't think he realizes how much drama I don't think it's quite set in how much he may have to deal with. But no, I love their relationship and I love how it's progressing. And we knew he was going to be over at the house from that glimpse at the preview, so we knew they were going to end up having a meal or something. But I loved, I don't know if we're at this part of the episode, but what did you think of that dinner where they were all revealing things, or the lunch? I thought
The
that was
cheesecake?
so... The cheesecake.
I would reveal something dark for a cheesecake. Admittingly, yeah.
Oh, Cheesecake Factory after this? I want to know what you're going to reveal.
Because it forced people to tell their truths. It's hard to go back to your past and like bring something up, but it forced them to tell like where they were in their life, but see how much they progressed past it. And actually, it put Jess in a situation where she had to come forward with her truth that she's been hiding for these past few episodes.
Right. Well, that was the big push of the scene. We wanted to actually have a scene where Jess has to, unfortunately, say what she feels in front of David, but in front of everyone else. So we all kind of came up with horror stories from our past. Well, one was specifically mine. The grading of the paper
Really?
happened to me my freshman year in college.
Oh no.
I do feel bad about the grading of the paper, but
Thank you.
honestly, I think we can have a therapy moment here.
It was a tough 3 days.
I'm sure.
Did you get cheesecake afterwards?
I didn't get anything from it.
Oh,
I
darn it.
just, I sat in my dorm room and listened to the same song over and over
What
again.
song?
I listened to the Eagles Already Gone.
Oh,
I love the Eagles.
And I cried for 3 days.
Oh no. I'm
We've
sorry.
all been there.
Yeah.
Not the
Yes.
grading of the paper, but the crying for 3 days in
No,
the
but
dorm room.
actually my grammar got a lot better afterwards.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, that's
no.
good. I mean, you got
That's
something.
why you're a writer today.
Yeah,
Yes,
I owe it all
see?
to her and crushing my heart.
There you go.
But I want to say, I thought they kind of glossed over Simon's really sad story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
little
tell
bit.
me if I mistook the story, but I thought he said he spent 10 years searching for this woman who he thought there was some potential or hope with, only to find out she didn't know he existed. I thought that was terribly sad.
It is sad, but also the crux of the storyline in this particular scene is not about Simon. It's more about
I know,
Jess.
but I'm like, if I was sitting there, I would have been horrified and like, I am so sorry. And how are you doing 10
Yeah.
years later?
Yeah, no, it was pretty cruel.
Well, but unfortunately, you have to go through those cruel moments to get to where you are.
But he
like
is
right
so
now.
charming if you can't feel that bad.
He is so charming. I would watch those exact actors do a Christmas movie or 3 because I love their chemistry so much, and he is so
Chesapeake Shores
charming.
Christmas movie. Done.
Done.
I called it. Okay, so I really like this scene and how Bree even found out that it was Jess having feelings for David. That I found that was like a moment of awkwardness just for her, but it was comedic also just watching it. That whole dramatic irony, so to speak.
Yeah, Ann Wheeler, the director of this episode, did an amazing job. I mean, just did a beautiful job with all the actors across the board. And then that scene, I mean, honestly, you write something and you kind of go, oh my God, this is actually pretty good. It's kind of nice.
Right.
And then we watched the dailies and we were just like, oh, it's just way better than even I intended. It was just great. Yeah, and she did a great job. She directed 7 and 8. Just did unbelievable.
She did a fantastic job, and we can get into cinematography later too, because I would love to speak to you about that. But so this kind of bleeds into Jess and David. Now they both have finally revealed that they do have mutual feelings for each other.
Well, which they
Truthfully.
kind of, through talking in food terms, did last week, I feel like.
Yes, but
explicitly
the
they
truth
said it.
finally came out. It did, and I'm happy. I mean, it took what, 3 episodes for that?
Which is relatively not that long to wait.
No, it's not.
Some shows have you waiting seasons. I can wait 3 episodes for Jess and David.
Yes.
Although I think that breaks my predictions, but that's fine. Let's forget that. Let's move on. But
What did
no,
you think of their kiss though?
Oh, the rain.
And the sprinklers. And the sunset, it looked like. I mean, very Hallmark. I loved it, though.
Oh, it's beautiful. In fact, here's the best part about it, is that we planned the kiss, wrote the kiss, and then after she saw the original script, Lacey sent me an email, said, can we do it in the rain? Can we do it with a broken sprinkler? And I said, absolutely. And so it was.
What a genius idea.
It was Lacey who realized that a broken sprinkler, and we wrote in the broken sprinkler and the rest. But it was like, when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, it's beautiful. It's backlit. It's lovely.
I mean, it was gorgeous to watch, and that was like the longest kiss out of everybody, which was totally fine. I mean, I loved watching it. That's really interesting to know that Lacey had some creative input. With all the episodes you've done and been part of, how often does the cast members or anyone have creative input to
It
their
depends.
characters?
I mean, sometimes I get emails. Some people, some of the actors come in and they have comments. I mean, because they know their character so well.
Right.
And sometimes they're seeing things because they're focusing not so much just on them, but just, they're obviously they have to learn their lines. And sometimes Barbara would come in on occasion, and Jesse Metcalf would come in. Treat always had something to talk about. And so literally, it's always nice. And sometimes you go, I don't know. I'm
Not feeling that one.
Veto.
But like with that Brendan scene, we sent it to him, and I contacted him. I said, Brendan, what do you think? And I mean, we wanted to change it. And he goes, no, I'll go. I got this scene. I got it. And you're just like, okay, you're great. Don't worry about it. So sometimes you want to have some sort of dialogue, and they're like, no, this is all good. And sometimes with Lacey, everything was fine. She just said, wouldn't it be better if we had rain? And I said, yeah.
Yes.
Of course, it's always better with rain.
I found this interesting about both Jess and Bree, that they both avoid men like crazy. And I thought it was so hypocritical for Bree to say it's such a guy move to just disappear. I was like, look at the behavior of Bree and Jess, who are just running from the men in their lives and the issues here.
It's
All
true.
right, well, I don't want to get into gender roles here.
No,
But also, I mean, I completely understand that. But in fairness, look at the men in their life. I mean, Mick is their father figure who's always constantly gone. It's not like they had an actual really strong male figure in their life to look forward to and to trust in, and who is someone that they could always turn to for that type of relationship. So I can understand why they're very hesitant, or more so towards men.
And I think also, I mean, and seriously, because of what happened with Megan, with their mom, is I think that they're fine. They've adjusted. They're good, but they also didn't really grow up in in a family where they saw two people that love one another. And I think it helps over, just so you have something like to mirror and model your life after.
Yeah.
And so, they're making it up as they go along.
I don't know if you saw this, Marisa, but there's people in the chat saying that they don't yet trust David, which is interesting to me because I have to say, reflecting on this episode, I do at this point.
Okay.
I still think there's backstory. My guess is politicians or some high-profile people. But whatever the story is, I don't think that there's... we're just on a conspiracy trail in the comments today. Because multiple people are saying, I still want to know the story about David, and I still don't trust him.
Like,
I don't know.
Where does he come from? His backstory.
We
still
don't
have his
know.
backstory. We know that Simon's backstory. We know where he comes from.
Are
We
you
even know
distrusting
his
still?
Past relationship. I'm not distrusting because we've seen David and how he treats the family, how he treats Jess. We know he's an actually good guy. Where he comes from shouldn't define who he is.
I'll amen to that.
Okay, there you go.
I also love his
like
This Is
David.
America, whoever wins, wins joke to Simon. I thought that was hysterical.
Yes. No, that was fantastic. I love it. I like David. David and Jess, they can stay. Yes. All right. Abby and Trace, another relationship that's still kind of on the rocks, but it seemed better in this episode. Camping. First of all, amazing, gorgeous overhead drone shots. Holy drone shots. They were amazing. Or were they not drone shots?
Yes,
had to be
they were
drones.
drone shots.
Okay. They had to be.
We have tons of drone shots.
Yeah.
Well, but only 42 minutes. You can't really use them all.
Right.
I noticed it in this episode. Every time they were walking, like whether into the forest or out of the forest, through the forest trees, I thought it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. But what did you think of them taking this day, this night off, and really focusing on each other?
Well, first of all, can I just say, I did not think that this camping trip was going to be the death of the relationship. And all of you were so unified last week in but in the preview, she said, I'm sorry.
It's
and
editing, you guys. Yeah, I know.
That preview did not fool me. I guess you guys need to up your preview game because I did not get fooled by that. And I did not think Abby was going to reveal some scandal to us and ruin it all. So I thought that it would be bonding for them. However, I still feel like, and maybe we're over the hump. I'm curious what you think, Marisa, and tell me what you guys think. Are we over the hump with Abby and Trace? Because I still feel like every time we have a good moment, something pulls it out from under or at least threatens it, as the viral video did at the end. What concerned me about it is where Trace was like, out here, there's no job, there's no kids, there's no career. And I sat there and I was like, I know this pattern in relationships where you like the person, but you can't work with each other's lives in that moment. Abby comes with a job and kids and extended family. And Trace comes with a club and a singing career right now. And so I like this suspension of reality. It was beautiful scenes. I'm glad they got to have the cute date. But it doesn't get to be just them. So I think that's a bad way to gauge the relationship. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
It's Michael. You've been actually watching and been a part of it. Were you always the Abby Trace storyline? Were you always, into that storyline, the relationship?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I look at it. I used to watch it last season too. So
Yeah.
and so, what I love about it, in a lot of respects, what you were talking about, Stefan, is that it's complicated and it's not quite as simple as just, finding the love of your life, post, in high school and then going back and then everything's fine. And both of them have baggage. I mean, good and bad. And I think in any relationship, a relationship moves forward the best when you can all carry your bags at the same time in the same direction. But if you don't, it does cause problems. And I love it. I mean, I loved it last season, and I sort of saw the potential because it didn't get together until the last episode last year.
Yeah.
So this year, a lot of it was like, well, how can we explore moving this relationship forward and a little bit back and try to see where we can go with it. So it's always fun. It's conflict.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
How many times did they say the word complicated in this episode?
I should have counted.
I know. I wanted to count. I lost track at 5.
Honestly, though, I don't think the O'Briens are... I think it's just overly complicated in the sense that there's a lot of siblings. So there's more storylines, more people, more going on. I don't think that they're worse than the average family.
No. I think one of their... I don't want to say issue, but one of their problems is that they overcomplicate things because they overthink of things. They're overthinkers.
Well, it's also complicated because they're good people.
Yeah.
And trying to do the right thing is always when we're complicated, sort of, some of the time.
Well,
agree
and
with
I
that.
applaud them. They're not just walking out when the relationship is not a piece of cake. They're
No.
not in the honeymoon, fairy tale, back to high school stage, and they're fighting for it to a degree.
Well, and I think they really do care about one another, and that really that carries a lot of weight, you know, and so I think that, you know, you have this moment, as you were saying, in the forest, and it's lovely, and they're having this wonderful time, and then all of a sudden reality intrudes at the very end of the episode.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, we got the nice moment when they were in camping, fishing, and like bonding over their past, even forgiving each other for the past. I mean,
I do
Abby
love that he woke her
actually-
up with coffee and breakfast.
I mean,
and
what a man!
Oh.
What a man!
yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
I agree.
Also, I don't know. I thought it was a big contrast that Abby basically flat out says, I just need to know if you're going to be around. I thought it was odd. Didn't it feel like Trace kept saying, trust me in this episode? And I was like, this isn't his normal line. I don't know. Maybe I'm just perceiving that. But I felt like he kept saying, trust me, which is not a normal thing for him to say. But what's interesting is Abby explicitly says, I need to know if you're going to be around. He says yes. And then, case in point, immediately we have this viral video and Nashville's not over.
Nash.
So I feel for, I don't know. To be honest, if this was a couple in my real life, this would be like the false alarm, everything's going great because we just had an amazing vacation, and then the next week they break up when back to reality is not good anymore. So that's how I'm feeling.
I mean, I agree with that too, and I think we always see Trace always constantly reassuring Abby. It's like, it's all gonna be fine. I'm gonna spend more time on you. I'm gonna make you a priority. We're gonna work out. Our relationship's gonna be fine. It's kind of like a mantra. I feel like he's saying it over and over again to convince himself. And
The more he says it, that's
believes
my
that
point.
it's
The
gonna
more he
happen.
says it, the more it scares me.
I know.
When
and-
somebody's like, trust me, I just really need you to trust me right now. I'm like, what are you doing? Why? What is the secret? Why do I need to trust you?
the necessity to keep saying it for 5 episodes straight makes me feel like something's not right here. Something's still not right for him to keep saying it's going to work out, when ironically it probably won't, because that's good drama.
What do you think about the preview having Douglas in it? Do you think that's misleading?
Definitely misleading.
I think so too.
With editing, we know editing previews are misleading.
And again, I'll say this again, it's not SoapNet, you guys.
Right. And
Come on.
this is when I will admit and eat crow that they did not break up at the campfire, you know, they're camping.
Which would have
They're
messed
still
up your
together.
overall prediction if they had.
I know. But
So-
I threw an early prediction, a very early prediction out there that at the end of the season they're going to be separated. We don't know how, when, and where, but near the end of the season it's going to happen. May not have been this camping trip, but I still think it's going to happen.
I'll wait till predictions to say more.
Michael can't weigh in on that.
Sarah's
face.
story is obviously the truth. How's that?
Okay, yes.
Sarah?
Sarah's story is the
No,
truth.
Sarah the
Oh,
firefighter.
back to that.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
someone in the comments, Sarah said something,
No,
and I was like, wait,
He's not
where is
revealing
Sarah?
Honestly, I couldn't answer anything, so I figured I'd answer the one thing I can answer.
He's not revealing anything. Chessie's, don't worry.
Can't you
don't
see
worry.
Abby being like, if he goes back to Nashville yet again for an indiscriminate amount of time, just being like, I can't do this. We need to take a break.
Yes,
I can so see that.
absolutely,
That's not
absolutely.
hard to imagine.
Distance is not a good thing on a relationship.
And what we do know is from Michael Berns just moments ago that this episode and the last one set us up for the finale. So if the video going viral sets us up for the finale, I think that's matching
Oh.
your prediction.
Goodness. We have
We'll
yet
see.
to get there. But Abby and Trace is still kind of uncertain at the end of that, because you saw Abby's, her facial expression. She was not too thrilled with that.
Can we bring up, did Lee post the video, do we think? Chris says he thinks Lee posted the video. Now that's a great theory.
Quite possibly. I thought so too, because I watched the episode twice, and the video showed is saying from the actual Trace Riley band, and it's like, who had access to that account? I'm just trying to think. Who had access
My
to
first
post
thought
that?
was, where is Lee, and did she have a hand in this video? I'm not gonna lie. Maybe we're too
Or-
diabolical.
Or
Wait.
did John Rawl have a hand in it?
Wow.
John Rawl could have posted it.
What does it say about our families that we always think it's diabolical conspiracies going
anyone.
on in Chesapeake Shores?
This is a whole different show, but this is fun.
See, this is why we
John
talk about it, so we're trying to
Rawl
figure
and
it
Lee.
out.
We're just responding what you guys are saying. That's all that's going on here. I don't know. It's a discussion. It's a community.
Hey, there you go. This is why we talk about it, because we love the show so much. We really get deep into it. Let's talk about Connor. Connor, he just quit Benham Beacham in Findlay. He finally tells Mick about it. Mick didn't really have the best advice for Connor in this situation like he did for Kevin. But what did you think of Connor going up to his Uncle Thomas instead?
I do not, well, okay, I won't get into predictions. I'll leave with this episode. With this episode, I thought that Mick actually handled it really well in terms of we've seen Mick angry and displeased, and he wasn't openly, at least, angry and displeased. I thought it was fair of him to be neutral because at the end of the day, Connor does have to decide for himself.
Yep.
And if I was Mick, I think he's a little justified in feeling like I told you what I recommended that you do in going and trying this is your plan B, and you left the job, so now you're on your own. I think that's fair. I thought Mick handled it well. And I don't know. I think Connor should have just taken the money, because if he's worried about offending Mick or something, it's like whether or not he took money for it. You're working for Thomas. That may be an issue either way.
Yeah, but I'm glad he didn't take the money, because I think there'd be a conflict of interest in all of this with the trust and family.
And when did that stop Mick and Abby?
I think
Conflict of interests are not a thing in this show.
Yes, I mean, you're right. Fine, touche.
But in any case, I like the trajectory Connor's on. I mean, I like Connor anyway, as you know, but I like the trajectory he's on. And I love Thomas's quote, "Find a job that speaks not just to your talent, but to your soul. Life is too short to work for money." I loved that. And I tell people all the time, just because you're good at something, if that's not what you love, that is not necessarily the automatic thing that you should do for the rest of your life. And so I thought that was such good advice.
Yeah, Thomas actually helps out a little bit, and I think look, I agree with you. And at the time, we really liked Mick's advice, because the kids are growing up. I mean, you're not going to give the same advice to your 10-year-old that you would to your daughters in their 20s. I can't really tell them exactly what to do anymore, nor can I tell them what they're doing is right or wrong. You just kind of go, "What do you think?" And I think that you know, at some point you have to make your bed, and Connor made his bed, and Mick is reacting to it. But no, look, I think Thomas kind of comes through in an interesting way. And, you know, it's an interesting thing for Connor to do, who all he wanted to do was make money as a lawyer and make tons of money. And, you know, he works for a big law firm, and, you know, it's golden handcuffs, and all of a sudden now he's doing, you know, a little bit of stuff for Thomas.
So it is for money, because I think we questioned a few episodes ago, why is Connor in law when he seems so unhappy and it's not living up to his expectations? Was it just for money, or does he actually, some part of him actually likes the law practice?
I think he loves it. I mean, like, well, last season it was, you know, between, you know, the stuff that happened with Abby, and he's, you know, talking people down, and I think that law speaks to him, but working at that kind of a firm is for the cash. I don't think that being at a desk for the next 30
But wasn't that a
years,
Mick influenced decision?
I think that, you know, look, as a dad, you always want to go, you know, that's a good solid choice, son. You know? And I think that that's where he was coming from. I don't think he was going, well, I mean, I don't want to crush your soul.
Do you think, so Trisha says Connor and Thomas are a lot alike and share a common issue, feeling abandoned emotionally by their dads. Is that a huge issue for Connor? Or is that reaching a little bit?
I think that might be a little reaching, but we've also stated the fact that we don't really know how Connor handled.
We don't know every individual child
younger.
and the parent dynamics, you're right.
Yeah.
We do know that, however nervous he was, he did make himself talk to Mick, so props to Connor for that.
Yeah, he did. And I really liked Thomas's thoughts and opinions, and how he was a good voice of reason for Connor during all this. And it did seem like Thomas was a little jealous of the success that Mick's family has. Like all of his kids turned out to be successful kids. And it seemed like there was a tinge of jealousy with them.
Which I thought that was such an interesting insight, because I can think of people right now who I will not name, but I can think of people who are not my favorite high profile people, but I look at their kids and I'm like, their kids turned out so well though. And I think it's such an interesting insight for for Thomas to say, with all my disagreements with Mick, I can respect that somehow his kids turned out well. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, no, well, it's great too. Considering everything that happened with Mick, with his kids, Mick with Megan, the kids are all doing okay.
Yeah.
And they're all close to one another, and they're all doing relatively well. Yeah, it's a little surprising.
Yeah.
Well,
Megan
and like
did
I said, I
something
think they
right.
are doing pretty well. For all the complication, I don't think that this is as dysfunctional of a family as they sometimes like to act like it is, of, oh, the shameful mess behind the scenes. I'm like, this is a PG-rated show. Your family's doing pretty well.
Yeah, but
Right.
also I think Brie, look, every writer tries to make anything bigger than it is anyway. So I think for Brie just to talk about how complicated, and I think because it fits who you are.
Yeah, over dramatizes things
Yeah.
a little bit. But
That's true. That's a good insight about the writer.
but I think also that it was also from Connor saying you just need to talk face to face. That's how you get results. And everybody talked face to face in this episode, and that's why there was so much progression, because everyone actually sat down, took the time, and worked out some of their issues that they were having. And I loved it. And the family was even doing that. Thomas and Mick were even doing that. Especially with Nell. I loved how Nell was still there, be the mediator, the mother between both the sons. But what were your thoughts of Thomas and Mick actually sitting down and trying to civilly go over
I was
trust?
happy for and with Nell because it just made her heart so happy that they were actually sitting down. I think that they're going to come up with some compromise. It doesn't really stress me out or worry me at all. I was happy that they're finally doing it. Everybody in the live chat is hung up on Mick leaving Connor to answer the phone. And it's interesting because apparently that was supposed to be a heartbreaking moment, or many people thought it was very heartbreaking. I thought they're all used to Mick answering the phone by now.
Right. And
I didn't think that was like how dare he not come through for me in this conversation and leave.
Right.
I thought that was very normal Mick behavior.
It's definitely Mick behavior. I mean, yes, it's rude just in, politeness. But that situation set up Connor to go talk to Thomas in this episode. Like, if that hadn't happened, he would not have done some work for his uncle. It wouldn't have forced Connor in Thomas's direction.
I'm actually going to say what I was going to say because predictions.
Okay. You're going to save it.
I'm saving it.
All right, fair enough. But that phone call that Mick took, it was a close friend of his that actually passed away, which was unfortunate. But what were your thoughts of learning about this story and the little backstory, even with Megan involved?
Well,
Jimmy Nelson.
Yes. Well, if anything, I thought that it might actually give him sympathy for Connor in terms of life is short, and like any reminder of life is short, I think always makes people like want to quit their jobs, want to travel, want to whatever, go to Disney World. So I thought that it might actually give him sympathy for Connor. And honestly, in terms of why it happened for the episode, I guess I felt like it was a perfect setup for him to have a bonding moment with Kevin that was so important.
Yes.
That were my main two thoughts on it, honestly.
Yeah, because in a way they were both kind of related. It dealt with death and how do you keep living when the people that you love are gone. I did like that. It's these situations set up each other to talk about their issues and work out and like say the right things to each other when they needed to, and I really love that.
And it's an unusual bonding experience because normally like an older generation and 20-something-year-olds or young 30-something-year-olds wouldn't necessarily have a lot in common. But when you're losing people because you're in war or in firefighting, police, any of those fields, and losing people because you're older and you're just at an age where friends are passing away, I mean, it was an interesting bonding thing for them to share, I think.
Right. I mean, and I think that we purposely didn't have Mick saying, look, I understand how it feels to be in a battle and feel, I mean, he's related to him on a specific basis of losing something you care about. So, yeah. No, I'm glad that worked.
It worked.
I'm glad it worked. This was such a great episode. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything we may have missed? Any moments that you would really loved upon? I love the drone shots. I was like watching it just as a cinematographer and, film major myself. Like, I just loved how beautiful the canvas of Vancouver is, and I think the show really does a great job of showing so many locations.
Yeah, no, Vancouver Island's a beautiful place to be. It
Yeah.
really is. And I mean, you can't shoot, I mean, the O'Brien house and Jess's B&B, I mean, that, you just can't find that anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
And-
makes me want to go there. I gotta be very honest with you. I know you weren't there on the first season, but my aunt had this brilliant idea to rent a lake house for Thanksgiving, and all I had in my head was Chesapeake Shores. And so in my head, we were going to Chesapeake Shores, and it was going to be the O'Brien household. And let me tell you, it was not. It was a frat party house for the summer. It was what my aunt somehow mistakenly booked.
Oh, no.
So anyway, but all I could envision is I was like, I wish I was on the shores in the O'Brien home.
I mean, it looks gorgeous, and we see it every episode. But I imagine the weather and stuff isn't always ideal as it looks like on the show.
Not until episode 9.
Really?
Maybe eight. Yeah.
Okay. Has there been like any situations where the weather wasn't ideal and you had that affected film
Oh yeah,
shooting?
there's pouring.
Pouring.
Yeah, and I mean, there's Megan. One of the first episodes, Megan, Ori, and Lacey are having a conversation, and you can hear just rain hitting the top of the 10 of them off, and they,
wow.
they replaced the dialogue of the whole thing.
ADR.
But yeah, the Thanksgiving story, when they're all hanging out outside, you would never go outside under any circumstances. It was really, really cold that day. I mean, I was out there with him, and I was like, well, this is really nice. I'll be inside for a little bit. See ya, bye. I'll be looking at the monitors inside the house.
So we wouldn't really want to be doing Vancouver Thanksgiving.
Not during Thanksgiving. Well, you'd be beautiful. It's just that you wouldn't want to, like, hang out outside.
Sure. But I don't do that anyway for Thanksgiving.
No, well,
I eat inside. Is that normal? Do you guys eat inside or outside?
Yeah, always inside. Sometimes outside if you're in LA.
Yeah,
The
no, my
weather's kinda nice.
wife's an outside eater, so
I see.
And so I sometimes blanket myself up.
Ah, there you go. I mean, I can understand that. So I really love that you're so heavily involved with the show, and you say you're on set for how much are you on set?
This season I wasn't on set a lot. I was actually 7 days a week in a writer's room.
Oh wow! So
I was in a tiny room just typing as fast as I possibly could. I would go on set occasionally just because I needed to. I watched dailies every day, and then the last 2 episodes I was on set, which was fun. Because for me, that's the most fun part of it anyway.
The writing.
Well, I love writing, but
the set.
But I love you get to see actors play with words that you didn't intend. I mean, I can hear all their voices in my head. I mean, I've been around them long enough, and even actually a lot of the actors I knew before I even got involved. So you can hear their voices, but it's really nice to see the differences in how a performance is done, and seeing sort of the nuance that you didn't expect. It's like Treat Williams outside at the cemetery. I was sitting down and just watching him, and you're just, I mean, you see the words and go, oh, I think the words actually are pretty good, and then all of a sudden Treat takes a hold of them and does something that you're watching and going, wow, I can't imagine how great this is. And so you sort of become an audience, which is fun.
Right. It's your work being actually executed right in front of you and put on screen.
Yeah, trust me, it sounds a lot better what they say than I'm doing it to myself. When I'm writing dialogue with myself, I sound horrible.
Do you hear your voice with all the characters, or do you try to hear theirs?
No, I hear their voices.
You hear it.
But I mean, but I read out loud,
Oh, I see.
and you sort of like, well, this is sort of how Diane Ladd sounds. This is how sort of Treat. And look, when I was a kid, I thought I could dance like Gene Kelly, and then my feet move, and then no, I can't. I can barely walk. But you sort of, so you hear their voices while you're saying it out loud, and you can kind of like picture what the scene was going to look like. But no, I don't hear my voice, but I definitely, when you're on set here, you don't hear all the nuances and all the little things that the actors are going to bring to it.
Right. And you say you write, all the characters' voices. Is there like a certain O'Brien member family that you most identify with?
I think Mick, maybe a little bit, only for the fact that I'm a dad now. And I think Mick tries so hard to be a good dad. And I think that ultimately there's no guidebook on how to do it. And sometimes the things that you do in the past you get bad about and you feel guilty about and go, God, I did not handle this like a good dad. You can go back and apologize, but it's still, you sort of make your bed a little bit. So you're always striving to sort of, how can I do better? How can I do better? So that I kind of get. So
you relate to the fathership.
Yeah, and really trying to bring a family together. Because it's a really wonderful thing that Mick is trying to do. And
I think Mick and Megan both are really trying pretty equally this season, and really both putting their best effort to be good parents.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
And I think that after everything that happened, it's really courageous, especially for what Megan is doing this year. I mean, because she was on the outs for so long, and even with all the little trouble with Jess at the start of the year, it's hard, and to go back and to continually throw yourself at someone and knowing that you're not going to get a lot of love back, that she keeps on trying to do it, which I think is great.
Yeah.
What character, obviously we haven't seen the last 2 episodes, what character do you think changes the most or has the biggest transformation in the total of this season?
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, I think Connor does a big change this year. I mean, a lot of people really do.
That's true.
I mean, we really tried to spend more time this year than last on everybody's individual stories. And especially much more the kids' stories and stuff and the relationships. I think Kevin changes a lot. I mean, I think, God, I don't know. I think there's a lot of movement with everybody.
Yeah. I feel like Jess has grown up a lot just within these past few episodes, especially how she handles Megan. And because we saw at the beginning, and even all last season, but the beginning of this season, that like there was pretty, there was still a lot of tension between those two, and I think it's really progressed to a better, more civil place.
Well, and her relationship with David's gotten, I mean, look, they finally kiss, and I don't, and after an entire, 18 episodes of them not flirting with the idea of maybe kissing, it's kind of nice that she actually sort of took charge a little bit and sort of put herself together again enough that she wants to have that kiss. So yeah, it's a big change, and other changes happening.
Changes.
Jim, a lot more changes happen.
Maybe.
Well, you brought
2 episodes.
I know.
Yeah, I know. We only have a handful of episodes left. Not even a handful. We only have 2. So you worked on a lot of television and a lot of drama. You worked on Greek and a lot of like family dramas and younger audience type of mentality, that situation drama. But now going to Chesapeake Shores, what is it about Chesapeake Shores that like really stands out to you amongst just working in television drama or just drama itself?
Well, I mean, I love long-form television drama because you can actually play with the family and move things, forward and not have to sort of resolve anything immediately. And knowing that, like, what's my end game? I mean, what's my, in 10 episodes, where do I sort of want to get? I mean, the O'Briens are great just because, I mean, Cheryl Wood set up a family that's really interesting and really complicated. I know that we're using the word again. But it also allows the actors and the writers and, obviously the fans too, to sort of watch a family sort of grow. And because the cast is so big and so varied and the actors are so good, you get to watch, essentially a lot of people on individual journeys touching and jumping into each other to try to help out. And I think that's lovely. I mean, in any kind of a family, I think that's great too. So, I mean, that's what I love about the O'Briens. It's just that it's great and having the ability to work with all these, I mean, look, a great crew, but just a stellar cast.
Absolutely. And I love all the behind-scenes pictures that you always post, and it seems like everyone's really enjoying their time working together throughout all those filming days together.
Yeah, everybody gets along. I mean, it's funny. Megan, Lacey, and Amelia when I first met them, I met them on a lunch for the 3 of them, and they were adjusting each other's hair, and like the familiarity of like actually like, oh, you have something here, but you're not like saying just do it yourself. It's like, I'm just gonna reach over and do it for you, and they're like, oh my God, you actually are sisters.
Very sisterly.
It's crazy. And wonderful. I mean, you're just kind of like, they're such a great bond. But yeah, no, the cast is lovely, and they all get along and they all respect one another, which is nice. Doesn't always happen in television.
Right? No, it doesn't. But you can always tell when it works off camera and behind the scenes that it's the relationship and friendship is so authentic that it actually translates to the stories, to the characters, and to the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely see it in this show.
No, it's been great. But no, it's fun watching, being able to sort of, you tap into your life and tap into things that have happened, and it's fun, writing fun stuff for them, and because it's the life you sort of want too.
Right.
And the stuff that I've done,
What time of the year are we ending in?
That's a good question. I mean, technically speaking, because of the arrest from last season, we're sort of continuing on straight away. We're sort of in October-y land.
Now
Okay.
or episode 10?
By the end of by the end of 10, we're sometime in October.
Okay.
Okay. Because at
Ish.
the beginning of the season, it was beginning of the summer.
Right. And,
So it's kind of playing out in real time
Well,
in many ways.
right.
Yeah.
We didn't have the ability to jump ahead at all because of the arrest.
Right.
At the end
Had to
of the
pick
first
up.
season. So we kind of and then we wanted to have the kids start school and start a new life. And then once you sort of get into that, it's hard. We didn't want to go ahead into Thanksgiving or into the holidays at all, but that was just a choice. We just sort of kind of kept it within a week or two,
Right.
There is a
Real time.
request for O'Brien family Thanksgiving.
Aw.
Oh, I would love either Thanksgiving or Christmas. Yes, absolutely. Add that to the 33 Christmas movie lineup. Just add I would love to see the O'Briens again. In between,
I would too.
seasons.
I would too. I think it'd be a great family show.
Yeah. I'm throwing that out there, and I'm putting that out into the world for the powers that be.
Yeah, but we're still waiting to see about other news first. So
Right. So you may not be able to speak about this, but we're still crossing fingers for season 3.
I honestly can't speak about. I have no idea.
Okay, no idea. But the show's
But
doing
Sarah's
really,
story is not fake.
Sarah's story is true.
But regardless, yes, Sarah Mercer, the firefighter, is on the level with this one.
Okay.
But no, look, the ratings are great, and the
Yes.
fans are great. So fingers are crossed.
Fingers are crossed. Well, I mean, we love the show, and we loved having you here. I
Oh,
mean, you're
my gosh.
fantastic, and all your insight. You are welcome back anytime.
Oh, I would love to. It was fun.
Yeah, of course, of course. Anything else, Stefan, before we move into predictions?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, great. Let's do predictions then.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
All right. Well, we've been saving a lot of our predictions, but you can go first.
I know, I'm honestly not sure I remember all of them, but here are my big 3. Number 1, I think that Trace and Abby, we had a false level of it's all going to be okay in this week.
Okay.
And I think Nashville is going to be the final straw for now. And even then, I think they're going to be the on again, off again couple of this show. So we said, even if they end up broken up when season 2 ends, we don't think that that's permanent. But I think that Nashville is going to be a problem. So that's my Trace and Abby prediction. Connor, I am hoping that Danielle comes back. I do think he's going to follow his passions in some way, shape, or form. But specifically, my prediction with Connor is I think it's going to get back to Mick that he worked with Thomas. And whether that ever happens again, I think it could. I think he could actually go to work for Thomas because I think the trust is also like a false, everything seems to be going fine. They're meeting at the table. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to get back to Mick that at the very least he did work for Thomas. I don't think that's going to end well. And my third prediction is I think Jess and David and Bree and Simon are both going to continue. I know that they could swipe it out from under us in 2 weeks, but I would really, maybe this is just a what I want prediction. After so long of them not kissing, I'm rooting for Jess and David to finish the season together. And I think it's going to go well for Simon to read Bree's work. I'm rooting for them to finish the season together. So.
Okay, I like that. My Connor prediction was kind of along the same lines, but last week I predicted that Connor was going to help start a law firm within Chesapeake Shores, so he has a reason to stay and practice his law. Now working with Uncle Thomas, I think Connor and Thomas are going to partner up, start their own law firm, and be the representative lawyers in Chesapeake Shores. They work together. There's their law firm, O'Brien and O'Brien. Go
Which
for
Mick
it.
will not be thrilled with.
No, he's not going to be thrilled, but that's great drama. So why not? I
love making predictions with people from the show here.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
I never felt so uncomfortable.
So you
Just keep
can't
the
really say-
camera on, Michael. I'm kidding.
Yes, let's read his
I'll
poker
start
face, shall we?
shaking.
Also in my notes I put boom. I think Connor and Thomas will start a practice together in Chesapeake Shores. And I think Sarah's going to come around. She told her story about her husband to Kevin, and I think there might be, she's going to come around and realize that she has someone in her life that can help her heal. Kevin needs help healing. Sarah needs help healing. They can heal each other and grow.
You
and
think in the
move
next
forward.
2 episodes?
Yes. I think there's gonna be another scene where they come back together and they might actually start working on their relationship now.
Why do we need it when we have 2 happy, healthy relationships buddying?
You may not need it, but I want it.
Okay.
Okay, I
That's
want
fair.
it. But I think it would really be good for both of them, actually. Come from a place of hurt and pain, but growth, and move forward.
I think they need some therapy first, but yes, okay.
They could be each other's therapy. I'm just really rooting for them.
I do not endorse that.
Really
I do
rooting
not
for each
believe in
other.
that, but okay.
Okay, and then I still think that Abby and Trace, unfortunately, at the end of the season, is gonna find a way where they're gonna separate. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's gonna happen.
And Michael, your
And Michael,
predictions?
what are your thoughts or hopes for these characters and like these storylines, just the show in general? That's a very loaded question.
I hope everybody finds what makes them happy.
Can you
Okay,
tell us
okay.
anything we need to look for in the next 2 episodes?
Well, I think you've actually hit on a lot of interesting ideas. I mean, and your predictions are really interesting. Interesting.
This is our word. Complicated was the O'Brien's word. Our word is
It's
interesting.
Well, and interesting,
But not wrong.
well thought out.
Okay,
And
that's fair.
and pretty much what we intend in terms of where people we want to predict, but we'll see.
Oh, then I feel misled. Great. Well, on that note, we're
No.
right where they want us, Marisa. We have been successfully deceived.
I mean, this is a great show, and like we love it, and we keep. We're hoping for a season 3. I think there will be a season 3. Let's just put that
I'm
also
counting
out
on
into
it.
the world.
Well, thank
when
you.
season 3 happens, we would love to have you come back.
I would love to, and on behalf of everyone, it's been great. It's been great watching, and it's been great being part of this year. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on all the success, all your hard work. It's definitely paying off.
Oh,
And the great ratings.
oh yeah.
It was
no,
phenomenal
Great
ratings this season. My roommate works on another Sunday night show, so we've had competitions about ratings of my after show versus hers, and Chesapeake Shores did much better. So
Oh, good. Then we win.
There you
yes,
go.
we win.
Well, thank you
Season
everyone for tuning in to our Chesapeake Shores After Show. Again, Michael, always thank you for being on our show, adding your input. Where can everyone keep following you?
At Michael Berns TV.
Great. And do you have any upcoming projects people can look forward to?
No, we just finished actually mixing the 10th episode last week. I was up in Vancouver, so and now we're just hoping
For season 3.
Yeah, maybe.
There we go. All right. And Stefan.
We'll tune in. Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Lovegrove.
Excellent. And you can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those fun social media platforms at AfterBuzz TV. Keep rating, keep commenting. We only have 2 more episodes. It's almost over, you guys. But wasn't Michael a great guest? Let us know. You can always download and watch our after show and leave your comments. And we have more things to talk about. And there's only a couple more episodes. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.